so that our new speaker and new guest can also understand what I'm saying. Next speaker is Dr. Velsberg, and he is an Estonian IT specialist with a proven track record in data science and data governance. And even more, he's the man who made Estonia a trendsetter in data governance, open data, and AI. And AI, that's the main topic he will now talk about, and he will show us all how the next generation of e-government will be shaped through artificial intelligence. So please give a warm welcome to Dr. Velsberg, the Chief Data Officer of Estonia. Welcome on stage.
It's a pleasure to be in Berlin. It's already third time this year, so it's nice to be back. Today I'm going to talk about how we are utilizing AI and data in Estonia. So as part of our government state agenda, we see that Estonia should be full of digital power, and this should affect every person, every company. And there are some underlying principles that we need to follow. First of all, we need to build the society together with companies, with universities, involving citizens alike. And similarly, we need to maintain our trustworthiness. In today's landscape, we need to pay a lot more attention to ensuring our culture is preserved, our language is preserved. Estonia, unfortunately, when it comes to language technology, we're a small country, 1.3 million people. So larger tech companies, they are not really interested in investing in Estonian language technology. So it is up to us, actually, to make the investments and ensure that we have the data, the technology in place. So I'm later going to share about what and how we actually do. So going to the state agenda, the most important part is the leaps that we are working towards. By 2030, our objective is that we are AI powered. The government is utilizing AI in all major public services. We make decisions based on data rather than on gut feeling. But why is all this important? I think this doesn't come as a surprise that data is something that is completely changing right now how we approach. If we take a look on the EU data economy, then it is close to over 800 billion euros by 2025. And it is expected that close to 500 million people are going to lose their job or need to change their job in the developed countries. So it is going to affect in a lot of sense. But from a government perspective, a typical approach has been that someone has a problem, we are going to collect data, we are going to analyze, and hopefully there will be a decision made based on the recommendation. Unfortunately, the final part, acting on a recommendation, is oftentimes difficult. The other one, people don't know what to ask. People don't know to ask an effective question. But we want to move from this as-is situation towards a more real-time data analytics and decision-making. So our objective is that our Prime Minister, our chief executives can make decisions in real time. So in our government office, if our Prime Minister has any question, they can basically just do the SQL query using their own natural language. So this is where we are trying to move towards. It's not going to be easy. I'm going to straight away say that, but this is the ambition. And also we are moving towards proactive government. So I'm just going to give you some of the examples of when you get a child, you can pre-name your child. I had mine last year. I knew how much the government is going to pay benefits, where and when the time comes that I need to register to the kindergarten. Everything is automated. And similarly, if a person becomes unemployed, then government is providing recommendations how to improve the likelihood of returning. Most of these services don't require AI, but in the unemployment case and in many others, we actually require AI. And here comes to play Krait. Krait is a mythological creature built from hay and stitches, and typically you had to donate a few drops of blood, and Krait carried out different tasks to you. But as the Krait came from devil, you always had to be a little bit cautious because it could turn against you. So we are using Krait in place of AI to bring out both the benefits, opportunities, but also risks associated. We started to work on our AI strategy and implementation in 2018 when I joined the government. Back then we had only a couple of AI use cases in the central government. Today we have roughly 130. And our focus has been from one end. We have seen that the public sector can be a front runner, a leader, in showing how AI can be utilized to streamline service delivery, also to help with the decision making. And when the second AI strategy, we introduced data as an enabler, which is a foundational part, working on data governance, open data, data exchange, and so on. Right now, we are working on our fifth AI strategy. So what is the situation? During our first AI strategy, it was really about, let's get the basic experience. Let's start by testing out what is possible, what is not. A typical project back then, in the first 2-3 years, was roughly 40,000, 50,000 euros. Sometimes even less than 10,000. So small scale projects. I know that in Germany, oftentimes, a project is not the project when the number doesn't start with 1 million, in a sense. So starting out small, keeping it simple, and testing out. And just to give you some of the examples, from identifying which houses are more likely to catch fire, helping with training, employmentship, identifying when forests are cut, and so on. So our focus was, AI is going to change everything. Let's not just address one specific area. We need to support implementation across all areas. This was actually one of the most successful examples. It is called BAG, or in Estonian Satikas. And it was about using satellite images to detect whether farmers mow the farmland or not. So in Estonia, we have a requirement that if the government is paying out subsidies, you actually have to mow the farmland. So we are doing this, replacing this on-site inspections using remote inspection. And even during the first year, during the piloting, the project actually repaid itself. Another example, identifying which roads, parts of the roads are more accident prone, what are the factors, how the government can actually reduce the likelihood of accidents happening. And this brings to the different activities we actually do to make this happen. From one end, we are developing Bureaucrat, which is our government virtual AI assistant. The idea of a Bureaucrat is really simple, enabling citizens to choose their preferred channel, device, how they want to communicate, interact with the government, use services. Secondly, we are providing support to government and also municipalities on what is possible, what is the scope of the project, how to implement AI. Some small-scale projects we are doing ourselves in a quick sprint. This is especially relevant with the GPT, OpenAI part. In a week, we can deliver services. But also language technology, various core components that both private sector and public sector alike can utilize. And then there is education, competencies, and everything else. But on to the reusable core components. This was actually a major part how the implementation of AI within the government took off so fast. So if we saw that there are similar needs by different agencies, we developed a core tool that we provided. During the COVID, I'm really proud that we implemented real-time subtitling. So today it gives access to close to 200,000 Estonians to national broadcasting, also theater acts and so on. Either people who have hearing impairments, but we also found out that parents who have children watch TV on mute. Right now we are working on sign language recognition, extremely hard. I'm already skeptical whether we are going to deliver anything functional in the next year, but again, just to improve the accessibility. And in the end of this year, we are going to come out with grammatical corrector. Most likely in German you have grammatical corrector, but as I told previously, bigger companies don't have much interest in investing in Estonian language. So we are developing our own. I talked about the bureaucrat. Bureaucrat today is implemented in 8 agencies, and the objective is to onboard all government agencies, but also municipalities. The logic behind bureaucrat is really simple. One channel 24/7. As a citizen, you shouldn't know which government agency is responsible for your questions, for your problems. You want to get those fixed. You also want the government to notify you of possible benefits, not only about when your tax declaration is due. So the government should focus on the person itself. I mentioned the AI support that we are providing. These are just some of the examples that we've been working on in the last 3-4 months. So winter is coming. We are working on identifying the thickness of the snow layer. Similarly, we all have the energy crisis. How can we support municipalities when it comes to optimizing energy consumption? So these are just some of the projects that we are right now working on. Open data is oftentimes brought out as one of the foundational parts. I'm just urging everyone who has problems to utilize Gaggle, for instance. We do that. So if you have a problem, you have the data necessary, involve everyone in the community to find solution. We did this, for instance, on drinking water quality prediction, just one example. But this is something that we more and more actively do. Finally, when it comes to implementing AI, yes, we talk a lot about the efficiency, the experience, and so on, but you also need to ensure that people trust you. In Estonia, from one end, we have implemented Data Tracker, which provides an overview of how the government is processing your data and for what reason. We are similarly working on privacy-enhancing technology, how to reduce the infringements on privacy, and so on. And also enabling citizens to really decide how their government health data is used by different stakeholders via consent service. So a person can decide who are the stakeholders that can use government health data and for what reason. And here is an example of the data tracker. So the idea of a data tracker is really simple. You go to the government portal, and here you can see as well. This is actually my data tracker log. So you can see for what reason, who, some of them actually, kodaniku isikuandmete päring means I requested my own data. So we are even showing this type of information. Who is processing your data and for what reason? And from one end, it is about ensuring that organizations who have little capacity actually know what to do. So if you think in terms of an AI principles, you have 47 principles covering from human control, transparency, security, and so on. It is impossible to ensure that all those 47 principles are actually implemented. So we've been taking a kind of an applied approach. So what are some of the lessons that we've been learned so far? First of all, community-driven approach. When you saw many of those projects that we've been doing, it is really in collaboration with private sector. Early on, we had companies that contributed pro bono into identifying what is possible, helping to solve problems, but also we are working internationally, sharing what we are doing, but also reusing what others have done. Reusability. Ensure that what you develop is made accessible and usable by everyone. Open source. We are increasingly also doing open development. to ensure full transparency of what we are doing. Practical cooperation with private sector, with universities. There is little that we do only in-house, so involve different stakeholders. But also, as my university doctor used to say, keep it short and simple. Most of the projects that we've been carrying out are small scale. Test it out. If it works, then scale it up. So finally, let's put data and AI to work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Velsberg, for all the lessons learned. I think we can learn a lot from you and from Estonia when it comes to digitize public services. Und nun zurück zum Deutschen, denn das nächste Panel, das führen wir auf Deutsch weiter. Es geht nochmal